wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got some special guests in the building from owning Manhattan. We have Ryan Serhant, Tricia Lee, and Jeffrey St. Armand. Welcome. Did I say your last name right?
You did. You said it right.
All right, just making sure. Welcome. How's it going, everybody?
We're good. We're good.
Great, man. Thanks.
Start with you, Ryan. So, if you don't know Ryan Serhant, of course, for $1 Million Listing, you are a huge real estate agent across the country. What made you leave?
You look like you used to lead a boy band.
I tried, man. Didn't work. I did a soap opera when I first moved to New York City. That's why I first moved to New York in 2006. They killed me off. My grandmother killed me, actually. And then I ran out of money, and that's why I got into real estate back in 2008.
Smart man.
You know?
So you left $1 Million Listing. Why? What happened with $1 Million Listing?
We did it for 10 years. We were nominated for 2 Emmys. I mean, I built my whole career off the back of that TV show, and it was a total accident. I went to an open casting call with 3,000 real estate agents in 2010. That's how that show happened.
Really?
But yeah, then in 2020, I started my own company, and Bravo said, listen, $1 Million Listing is a format, right? It follows 3 agents as you do deals. That's what people expect. It doesn't follow 2 agents doing deals and then one guy running his own company. So what do you want to do? And I said, maybe this is time, to move on to the next chapter. So then I immediately called Netflix and I said, hey, listen, I have an idea. Start my own company. I just took down this building in Soho. I'm going to wrap my name in it. I've got a lot of crazy agents that are going to start working for me. Like the people.
Say crazy.
That's
one
just
more
so
time.
heavy.
Oh, say crazy
one more time.
and they said, listen, make a presentation, send it over to us. We did, and we started shooting that show in 2022, and here we are 2 years later.
Now, you guys make being a real estate agent look easy, right? But it's not that easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. So how did you guys get your start? Not Ryan, you get your start in Tricia and Jeffrey in real estate.
Yeah. Well, we're both from different careers. Jeff is a producer, Emmy award-winning
Multiple
producer.
Emmy awards.
Yes.
Let's be clear. National, not local.
He carries them around with him everywhere.
Talk that talk.
Let's make
They're
it clear.
everywhere, trust. And I ran businesses in Brooklyn, so we were both transitioning at the same time when we met. We both thought that real estate was the next thing. We were, coming out of a recession. It just made natural sense to us. And we met in real estate. Yeah. And Ryan reached out like maybe 5 years into my career and was like we should meet. This is something we should do. I didn't even realize he had started a new firm, and then I started studying that, and we met. And next thing I know, I'm in front of a casting crew, and they're following us around. And I do think you're going to see real estate here, because I don't know how to sugarcoat anything for you. Our job is hard, and we work our asses off. So you will see that. There's just no way to make that look different.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, and Tricia's being super modest. Like, she had multiple Polish Bars is the name of the brand. It was a big brand in Brooklyn. She had a huge following. So it was just the perfect synergy of the entrepreneurial spirit that she has and me with the television and the marketing background. So it was a good mix. And then going through everything to get to Serhant. We ultimately came to Serhant. It was just a good fit with having studios there, that what Ryan provides there. It really makes our stuff different. And to Tricia's point about the show is as real as it gets. And we could speak to it not being easy, because it wasn't easy for us. It's how would it be, 7-8 years in?
Yeah.
It took a while to get to this point.
Yeah.
It wasn't overnight all of a sudden we're selling, multiple million, $5, $10 million
Yeah,
properties.
you start. My first house was a $100,000 sale, and it took 6 months for it to happen.
Yeah,
How long ago was that?
That was 8 years ago.
Wow.
And I worked on that longer and harder than any other deal.
Exactly.
It made no money.
people don't understand. So my daughter recently graduated from NYU, and she jumped into the real estate game.
So smart.
It's like having another wife that doesn't leave, right? She just it's just because she doesn't get paid unless she sells something.
Exactly.
Right.
And if it takes 2 months, it's 2 months of not getting paid, of paying for cars, paying for gas, showing people properties. It's a lot.
Envy, it can take 2 years sometimes.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work. But I feel bad for her. But the good thing about it is she loves it, so she wants to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So how long did it take for you to you said to sell your first property?
I didn't do any business for 6 months, and I worked every single day while running my beauty businesses at the same time. So I had a 7 a.m. to 11 o'clock schedule for 6 months, and I didn't make $1.
Jeff?
Yeah. I would say somewhere around the same time. The big difference is that I was a year ahead, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. So as she was going through that, I was like, listen, it'll come together. Just keep doing what you're doing.
I was I hate it here.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not getting any results. Something's happening. I was like, listen, you're going to do a lot better than people who are in the business right now. Just keep head down, keep going. And that's the same thing I tell your daughter. Just it's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenges. But just if you in it and you really learn the business, and that's what's really key, learn the business and know it. Because this isn't this isn't fake. We know the business.
Yeah.
Well.
They try to make it look like what he does on TV is the job, and it's that's just a portion of what's actually happening. If you sit down with him and have a business conversation, he's going to blow you away far more than anything he does on television.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of Ryan's shows before y'all
No,
started?
not until holiday season.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
You never watched any of the other
No.
But
shows?
don't look at me. I did watch it, man. I watched the first season.
Did
Okay.
you?
That was-
Wow,
I didn't,
throwback.
and then I didn't think it was fair to because I was getting to know the real person, and then I was like, well, let me just judge that, not what I see on TV.
Yeah, maybe good. Maybe don't watch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
maybe
he's
don't watch
pretty
them.
intense on and off TV. So I don't. Well, he's
Yeah.
not pretty. He's extremely intense on TV and off TV. Like it's always let's go.
Yeah, but the new show's different. Like I made $9,000 my first year. $9,100 trying to do real estate in New York City. It's hard. Like,
Yeah, but you're already filthy rich, though. So.
No, no way.
Oh, you
man.
mean back in the day?
It's back in the
Oh,
day.
back in the day. Okay,
Back in the day.
Okay, gotcha.
Back in the day, like when I first, 2000. I mean, it was brutal. Like that's 85% of the people that get into real estate in New York quit within 9 months. It's just too hard, man. And living here is way too expensive. And so one thing we really tried to push forward on this show on Owning Manhattan, it was a deal that we made with Netflix, was like, what is reality TV 3.0? Like, what's the evolution of TV shows? How do you get people to look up from their phone? Everyone's got attention deficit. Everyone's got TikTok brain, right? Everyone's looking at it. So how do you get people to pay attention? How do you surprise the audience? And how do we show them something that's very real and very maybe uncomfortable? Like nothing fake, no bullshit, like real deals and a lot of loss as well, and keep them wanting more. Otherwise, let's not make it. That was my deal. Like I don't need to go make another TV show. Let's go do real business. And it was a super stressful 2 years, and now it's out for the world to see. So let's see what people think.
Can you lose yourself in the reality TV of it all? Like can you forget what got you here?
I think so. But, I mean, I can only speak to my experience.
Who are you, Jeffrey? Yeah, who are you?
But I think the thing about it is and you'll see this in the show. There's like less experienced agents and more experienced agents. So we're a little bit more not only experienced as agents, but just life experiences. So it's not like we're brand new going into something, and we have like the TV background, so you kind of know what it is. So I could say for us, it's a little different, but I can see how someone else, just get caught up in the modern day. I want to be an influencer. I don't even want to do real estate anymore and try to have a whole different career. But for us, I think we're in a different space.
And I think we chose to do this at a time in our life where we know who we are. So an audience is not able to tell us who we are.
Right.
And for me, I just wanted to be myself. I was if I can show up as myself every day, then I'm good doing it. But I didn't want to fit into what they thought I should be.
Now,
Did you sell? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now, I'm gonna say now, COVID was lovely for a lot of real estate agents, right? Interest rates were low, everybody was buying, banks were giving
Never
everybody
had
money
more
to get
business.
it.
Yeah.
But now it's changed. Interest rates are
Right.
high as I don't know what. So how is the business now for a lot of people? And what do you tell real estate agents now that are out there and it's difficult, right? Banks are taking a lot to give people money. You got to give your damn near your right arm to get a loan. Interest rates are super duper high. So what do you tell agents now?
I say stick it out because I feel like I came in when it was going up, and when I came in, it was like you showed something once and you had an offer. But at the entire time, I said it will not always be like this. This is cyclical. So I was mentally prepared for where we are now. I don't take it that bad because I knew it couldn't always stay good, right?
And in bad times is when really the cream rises to the top. So this is the opportunity right now. If you really know the business, learn the business, you can take advantage of it now. I mean, there's a lot of things you could like really guide your clients with, like 40-year mortgages. That's an option to try to deal with the higher interest rates, putting more down conceivably if you can, refinance down the road. There's different options you can do and give good direction. But for the real estate agent, it's just like head down and keep going.
Yeah.
Because everyone's right now, I would imagine a lot of people, I don't know the exact number, I'm certain you do, Ryan. A lot of people have left real estate with the rates being as high as it is now.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good time.
So is a global pandemic worth the low interest rates?
We had a wonderful
honest.
year and a half of business.
I'd take a week purge every year, like a COVID remembrance week. 0% interest rates for 5 days. You're not allowed to leave your house. Just see what happens.
The first day
Doesn't
we were allowed
sound
to
terrible.
go back to work, I had 11 showings. Like when we were allowed to go after that 7-month break or that 7-month hold,
We
I had
were
11
sneaking
showings day
out.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were real estate agents in the city who had like emergency gear on,
She's
just in
pointing at
case
you.
the police pointed, because real estate in New York, you were not an essential worker,
Right.
And they were trying to get you. They were trying to like make you stay inside. It was complete insanity. But yeah, listen, if you were to say, hey, I want to find a really, really resilient person who can kind of stick through the tough times and the good times. Let's go make that person in a box. You wouldn't put them in a happy box, right? That doesn't make resilient people. You'd put them in like a really tough box. And that's exactly what we're in right now. We're in a tough market. So if you can forge yourself through this, the good times do come. What goes up must come down. What goes down must go back up again. It's just back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
Now, you created your own brokerage. How difficult was that, leaving, being comfortable with somebody else, to now you have to pay for everything? You're paying for the rent. You're paying for marketing. You're paying for everything. How difficult was that?
Super difficult. It was, I had made the plan to do it, kind of in 2019. And I said, I'm going to start my own company at the beginning of 2020 because that's going to be the beginning of a new decade for me. Right? I kind of think about my life in terms of like these, every year is a chapter and every decade is kind of like a section of my book. So the next section of my book is going to be starting my own company and running my own thing. It's going to be fine. It's all going to be fine. And then people start getting sick in China. Italy shuts down. I'm like, well, now I've already committed to doing this. And so it was pretty terrifying, but it was all for the best because everything got so much cheaper. I was able to get an entire building in Soho for our first office at the same price that I was looking at like one floor in another office building because the market came to a screeching halt. Right? Buyers roared back, and there was a lot of eyeballs on us when we started the company. I think why Netflix was also interested in making a show with us because everyone else left. Everyone left New York. Everyone left New York. They all went to country houses. They all went to Florida, which is fine. It's great. We do a lot of business in Florida. We love Florida. But everyone left, and we were like by ourselves, working every day, sneaking down Broadway to get to our office so that we wouldn't get caught. It was insane to build something. But yeah, the overhead's real, man. Like I sometimes I remember the name of my employees. Other times I remember how much they cost. Right. Like what's your you've got, because it's real. And so one thing we try to do with the employees is help them understand their direct correlation to revenue. So you're not just paying people, and it's a big lesson that I've learned in setting really, really clear expectations from the get-go, because if you don't set clear expectations with people that work with you, all you're doing is setting future resentment. Right. And so that's been huge. But yeah, man, like payroll, leases, insurance, man, like legal bills, like what, like it's never ending when you want to run your own thing. And ignorance is bliss that way, maybe. I mean, so far so good though. Okay. So far so good.
Let me ask you about now what about your families, right? So we see in your family on $1 Million Listing and how your family grew and your families. It takes a lot because you leave your family a lot, right? Because when somebody wants to showing or they want to see a property, you can't say, hey, babe, I know we had dinner date, but, because this might be, $1 million profit. This might be a couple $100,000. So how is raising kids and having a family doing real estate?
For us, we work together, Jeff and I, and I'm the only balance in the relationship. 'Cause he'll be working if his eyes are open, and I'm kind of a workaholic, so there's not much help. Okay. But we have boundaries. There's certain times of the day where we have to shut down, but we're on vacation and hiding out, or we go to the bathroom and we're gone for 40 minutes. Everybody knows you're doing a deal and you're not supposed to be on your phone.
Oh, you said going to the bathroom. I was like, whoa. You know what's going on in your bathroom in Serhant.
No, we hide. Well, I usually hide out. Like I'll say I'm going to the spa, but it's like I'm doing calls, because the rule is you're not supposed to be working. Right. But we both cheat all the time when it comes to that.
I remember we were on a cruise in the Mediterranean last year.
Yeah. I need facts.
Right around the time when we were started shooting the show. Yeah. Which is a whole other reason that we should talk about. That's why we missed out on the Central Park Tower incident.
Yeah,
we were on the cruise.
Yeah. Keep going on those cruises, man.
Yeah, I know. And cruise almost cost us $250 billion. But really, even in that moment, there was times we stepped away and I'd try to send a text or something, send an email.
And then we don't want each other. We don't want to catch each other.
Right.
So I'm lying to you. You're lying to me. Everybody knows everybody's working. Yeah. And I don't think this one has any of that.
What about you, Ryan? You got a wife and kids, and how do you balance that? Because I've seen a couple times where your wife was upset, like, no, this is our time, and you're like, but this is deal.
Yeah, it's hard, man. I mean, when you're in sales, you get addicted to it, because you don't get a salary, there are no benefits, and you're only as good as your last deal. And you can always say, well, when is enough enough? And sure, you can set a goal for yourself for the year, but then that next phone call, like you want to pick it up, you want to see, because your life can change. Like when we started Serhant at the end of 2020, it's like, I went on rental appointments because I got to pay bills now. COVID shut down all of our markets. It was awful, especially in New York, right? There were bodies, we had the Red Cross ship. There were tents in the park. It was nuts. I went on a rental appointment on the Upper East Side, and my wife's like, wear gloves, wear your hazmat suit. This is pre-vaccines. Met a guy that wanted to rent an apartment on the Upper East Side, had a big budget, $30,000 to $40,000 to $50,000 a month. Started talking to him, decided not to rent something, decided, you know what, maybe I will go buy something in Florida. And that was a Monday. By Friday, we were in contract on a house that was asking $140 million. So had I not picked up that rental call, I never would have done a 9-figure sale that at that time in 2020 going into 2021 was the largest transaction in the history of the state of Florida and like the top 5 deal in the United States. So like
you hear that?
that can
tell her that.
that
I
can
remember
happen.
this.
Tell
I
her that.
remember
We
this
can tell her
moment.
that.
I
Yeah.
remember
But
this
that can,
moment.
you know, those things can happen. But you do have to set boundaries, and you especially have to set boundaries with people that are not your family. You know, it's not about telling your wife, your kids, like, hey, daddy's at home now, so let's pay attention to each other, right? It's not, you know, it's not about telling your wife. It's not about telling your wife and your kids that, hey, daddy's at home now, so let's pay attention to each other. It's about telling your clients, like, hey, just so you know, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 6 to 8, I'm with my daughter. I put her down. Saturdays for me are dadder days. Like I don't, unless it's life threatening. I'm really focused on Xena. That's her name. She's 5 and being there for her. And then she knows Dad goes to work the next day. I don't think she knows what I do. If you asked her, she'd be like, Daddy sells and dances. I'm like, I don't
Tapes it.
Yeah, exactly. He films it. She'll take my phone and she'll pick it up and look at my phone and be like, "Hi, I'm Xena Serhant. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe." And I'm like, "No, it's happening terrible."
So how do you guys deal with, because of course you're on the show, so people know who you are. How do you deal with people that just don't necessarily want to buy something, but just want to hang out?
Yeah,
that has to happen a lot.
It's happened to me. $1 Million Listing first aired in 2012, so it's happened to me now for 12 years. These guys are going to have to go through it now for the first time ever, and you got to be super careful, right? Like wasting your time is terrible. What's worse is when people have like malicious intent, and they do. Like especially.
Has it happened with you before?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've had FBI involved. We've had stalkers. Yeah, man. We had to move offices once. Like our home addresses are scrubbed.
You don't hurt anybody. Like
yeah, but people get obsessed.
People
dude.
impersonate him
People
every
get-
day.
People get obsessed. They watch TV shows, and Bravo is American for the most part, and then the show aired around the world. But reality TV, you do get very vulnerable and authentic, and you let these cameras into your life for a year, and they see your ups and downs. And then with social now, everyone feels like they know you. And dude, Netflix, the show dropped today to 270 million people in 190 countries. Our voices are dubbed in over 20 different languages. That's a lot, right? All in one day. So one, you got to be careful. But two, like if you're not Googleable, you got to show me something.
Right.
I had a guy from a different country. I won't say what country, but reached out to me kind of right at the beginning of $1 Million Listing and totally seemed like he was going to try to kill me or sell my body into oil drums or something. And I'm like, this is not real. This is not real. He sent me a photo of his accountant as his proof of funds. I'm like, this is not good. This is not great. Not great. Turns out we ended up doing a deal together for $8.3 million almost a year later, after like it was the most traumatizing experience of my life. He just liked to drink and was on Zillow one night and hit me up, and then I follow up relentlessly. The guy makes hundreds of millions of dollars a year in another country in a really weird way, and it is what it is. So like sometimes you just never know, and that's part of that addiction, right? Of like sales, you just never know who's gonna call.
What's the one deal for each one of you that you lost that it burns you to this day that you knew you should have sold?
Oh God, I'm gonna tattoo it on my butt probably.
One of my first closings, I got to the closing, so excited, and the seller on the other side of the table I'd never met, and she was a former beauty client, and I wasn't at the time marketing myself. And as we got up to leave, she was like, "This should have been your deal." And I was like, okay. And that's when I kind of like lit a fire under myself to start marketing myself and putting myself out, because she's like, I don't even know this guy that's selling my house. This should have been your deal. Right. I was with the buyer, but I wasn't sharing to the world what I was doing. And luckily it was my first deal, so that changed everything for me. Now you can't see enough of me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, there was a deal. It was a deal that was it was an interesting deal. It was a brownstone. It was like a $5 million brownstone, and the guy was acquiring a different company, but he put money down for it, and he had to sell the rest of the company in effort to get the deal. So down payments down. I think put $400,000 down payment. Went hard, which means if it doesn't close, you lose the money.
Lose the money, yep.
And he just couldn't sell the company, and so we're here. And we're spending. This is something that I never do, but I had like the buyers and the seller come together. They were like great friends. Everyone loved each other. They were, bartering services to extend the period. And then at the 11th hour, he just couldn't sell the company, and I felt bad to tell. And he knew it.
And he lost $400,000.
Beautiful home in Bed-Stuy.
Christ.
Too.
Yeah, I was. We were selling a building at the end of 2019, going into 2020, before we started the company. We had contracts out, everything. It was $880 million. I'd never done a deal like that before. The commission was 1%, so it was $8.8 million. And then COVID hits, and the money was coming out of the Middle East. The price of oil starts to tank. The buyers say, hey, we just need a little bit of time. You need a little bit of time. We need a little bit of time. Deal slowly falls apart. I worked on it for a year. I think about that deal every day.
$880
I feel like I'm going to think about it every day.
Yeah, I feel that. I like that. That was, it's like a life-changing sale. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like that was, especially when I was starting my own company. I'm like, all right, so that's going to be my seed money. I'm bootstrapped. Like we, we're not backed by anybody else. We build, for agents, by agents, with agents. Like I am a real estate agent, so I think the agents that work with us, I understand their world because I'm in it with them all day long. That was a brutal one. That sucked. One day though, one day.
Now I gotta ask you guys, being black, is it more difficult to get people to come in and say to trust in you guys than anybody else?
Far more.
Why would you say that?
Because you work with who you identify with. That's just what people do. Like if every agent sat down and thought about their last 5 clients, they probably look something like them. And so people that we work with typically look like us. And the economic wealth gap as well as anyone else in this room. So the likelihood of us working with clients that own $2 and $3 and $4 and $8 million homes shrinks down to less than 5% probably, less than 2%. So it's just harder for us to build volume, drastically harder for us to build volume.
And I think for us, that's part of like we lean into our sphere, and we really work that as hard as we can to really get the business right. And then and in the show itself, it's part of our transition from leaning into our core, which is our Brooklyn audience, and then going into Manhattan.
Yeah,
and that's the show Owning Manhattan. So it's like transitioning from still servicing that base, but knowing that we want to go to a different tier and then starting to do that. And then at that point, we have all the experience, and then we can speak to whatever the market is to whomever we're speaking to. And then they kind of understand.
It's like you can be a Brooklyn rock star. That's great. But it's like, at a certain point, you have a conversation. You're like, Ryan, I want to do these other things. Help me, And I think that's how this came together. Because we were both working at another firm. And then we came over and we were like, okay, this is how we want our business to shift. And we sat down and did a planning session with him about how we could grow that business.
Gotcha. I still have to come to your cookout.
You really do. You have one invite.
Was it the ally? What was the award?
You're an ally, and you have
award,
an admission to one cookout.
One cookout?
One cookout.
It's a little ticket. He has it on his wall.
We might do it for Labor Day.
Okay, you got it.
Flavor.
But only one. So if it's this year, make sure you use it this year. But he's invited to one cookout.
You better not bring him to Brooklyn on Labor Day weekend.
I live in Brooklyn. Let's
You
go.
invite to Brooklyn, you have him in the Parkway. Put him right in the Parkway.
Put it right on the Parkway.
Right on the Parkway.
My first day on the Parkway was last year.
Brian's like, I don't know what the Parkway is, but stay away from it Labor Day. Stay away from it Labor Day.
I would advise.
Now, I also got to ask, when it comes to everything that you do you start off small? Because, thinking about real estate, right, there's always that one person, right? I remember buying my first house. It was probably $300,000-$400,000, right? But then you stay with that agent to your $1 million house, to the next one. So do you still stay small, or it's like one of them things like, nah, I'm not doing that?
Listen, it completely depends, right? This business is all about relationships. We're not actually in the real estate business. We're not developers. We're not contractors. We're in the people business. We help people. We connect those people to buyers? We connect those people to sellers. I think especially when you're early on in your career, you take everything because you never know. That $2,000 rental client that's going to drag you around, and you don't get paid by the hour. You don't get paid a salary, right? Nope. That person, maybe her uncle, her brother, who she knows, her future girlfriend or boyfriend, could be an amazing client. It's all about those relationships, and there's 1,000 stories to tell that way. I run the brokerage now, and that's really what Owning Manhattan is about. It's running the company, the stresses of running the company, and then the agents that work with me. And so depending on deal price and all that, almost every deal I do now, except for maybe 1 or 2 a year, I do with our agents. I'm doing with Jeff and Tricia. I'm doing with the other agents that you'll see on the show and other agents that are at our company who are highly specialized and have domain expertise in kind of what they sell. That way we can expand our business as much as we possibly can.
Got 2 last questions. One, how do you do things outside the box, right? Because there's always an old way of doing things, right? There's back in the day, there was mailers. You send out mailers, and there was cold calls. And how do you step outside the box to make sure that, you reach out to some of these YouTubers out there or these TikTokers that, people are, my parents would be like, a little TikToker, but a little TikToker make a couple $100 million.
Exactly.
So how do you step out the box to make sure that you're reaching not just your typical people, but things outside the box as well?
So I made my first YouTube video of a property tour in 2015, so 9 years ago, and the entire industry laughed at me. There was even an article that got written about it that was like, dumb Ryan and his vanity, he's already on a TV show and now he needs to do more. But what no one else pays attention to, and I guess I just didn't talk about it as much back then, it's like, you all think I'm doing this for me. The viewer of that video is 13 years old, and they have control of the dinner table. And at dinner, mom and dad are going to talk about moving because dad's got a new job or they're going to a new school. And that kid is going to say, okay, can we call that guy Ryan? Because he does these really cool property tours on YouTube. And today it's TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts, right? And Twitter X and Facebook and all the international ones that we do and Netflix. That's the reason we do this stuff. And so it's really setting up, like if you look at our company, we are a media company that sells real estate, right? To the benefit of our buyers, our sellers, and our developers. And we've always thought outside the box. Now everyone's copying us, which is fine. They just don't do it nearly as well as we do.
I've seen people jump in pools. I've seen people jump over fire. I was like, people are really trying to sell some houses now.
But the thing about it really, it's storytelling. And not everyone thinks they can tell a story or get a camera and just shoot something, but it's really storytelling that conveys with that buyer or seller.
Right.
And that's really what we do well. That's if someone asks what's our secret sauce, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So you can try to recreate it wherever, but you're not going to get the same finished product.
And I think the most competitive agents really focus on Serhant. So either they're watching everything we're doing or they're trying to join the firm. So I feel like the entire culture of the company are people like us that will think outside the box, that are used to people making fun of the things that you do until it becomes the trend. Like that's been my career. That's been my entire, all of my careers have been that way. Like, what does she think this is? Until that becomes the next way of doing things. So that's a part of it.
Yeah.
We're also working hard. I mean, I'll say this for me. One of our big missions at the beginning was to really change the face of this industry. Right, the average real estate agent, not just in New York, but in the nation, is 55 and she's white, and that is not America. Right, that's not the world. It's definitely not New York City. And we do a significant amount of work through our education business, which is called sellit.com, with inner city schools and teaching them, like, I know everyone else told you can't do what we do, but you can, and you'll probably be way better than everybody else. So let's do it. And it's really important to me that the face of people who are successful in this business are projected out there so that like the future adults of tomorrow see this and are going to emulate. The same way there's like little kids from Texas in cowboy boots who've watched me for 10 years saying like, oh, Ryan did it, I can do it too. I am so excited about what our industry is going to look like 10 years from now because of what Jeff and Tricia are going to put out there starting today.
Well, Owning Manhattan is out right now on Netflix. Go check it out. Last question. Well, actually, two more questions. One, the political commentary and everything that's going on in politics now, does that help and hurt, or does that hurt? And also, for a real estate agent that's watching right now, right, that's maybe just thinking about getting into it, that loves property, loves houses, what do each one of you tell them? So let's start with the political. Does political help or hurt? What's going on right now with everything?
Honestly, we're going through a rerun right now. So you know what's going to happen either way. Right. Yeah. And that's all you really got to focus on. And it's probably not going to change your personal life a whole lot. It might change what you see on your newsfeed. It might change what people talk about around you. But is it going to change the fact that you still need a house? Is it going to change the fact that you still got to have a job and provide for your family? Probably not. And so just focus on yourself. Do what you do best. Right. Have a get up and go mindset every single day. And be an agent of change in your own way, if you want to be. As salespeople, it's always hard though, because you can't, we want to work with people on every side of the spectrum. So it's tricky for us to really pick a side, but you got to stay authentic and true to yourself as much as you can.
Now, the real estate agents out there that's looking for a job and thinking about jumping into this crazy industry, they see Ryan's fancy cars, they see him with the celebrities, they see him doing the cool videos, they see him in the $1 million properties, they see you at the cool parties and all you guys at the cool parties. What do you tell an agent that's thinking about getting into this game right now? What advice would you give the younger you?
Learn the business.
Learn the business.
Everything else is just icing. It's like a cake. Essentially, it's like you got to learn the foundation of the business. You talked about before about mailers and cold calling. All that stuff is still key and still essential. You do that coupled with the new stuff.
Yeah.
So learn the business inside out. And I think Tricia
learn the
echoed same
product.
thing.
A lot of people are so focused on promoting themselves, they're not trying to learn the product.
Mm-hmm.
You're not talking to people that don't know their way around a rooftop, mechanical room. Like, if it's in my house, I know what it is and I know how to fix it. Like that's a huge part of it, I think, because you're dealing with a client that you're supposed to help and guide. How can you guide somebody to do something you're not familiar with?
Right.
So I think studying and understanding the product is really important. And honestly, follow me for a day, because there are parties and people are jumping in pool, and that's great. But we also need to walk this
Careful
rooftop.
what you just said. There you go. I'm gonna see Tricia in like a week from now and be like, "What? Who are all these people?
Who are these people
Like, I don't know. I told everyone to follow. They're literally physically following me.
Actually, let me run that back.
Yeah.
But
No, I can't take it back. It's forever. It's forever.
But
This
like
is
we
forever.
work. Like I'm driving all over from Brooklyn to Manhattan. We're walking and we're touring things, and it's 100 degrees, and you're in the basement, and you're trying to figure out like what's the best price, and is everything that's being presented to you really what it is? And so the product itself, these 130-year-old homes that we sell, study that, focus on that. Understanding how finance plays a part of that. It's really more textbook, I think, the work, and then the celebration is what people typically see on TV.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a different opportunity. You're going to see the work here.
Now, Ryan, what do you say to a young agent, a young yourself, get into this industry?
I say kind of what Jeff and Tricia just said, which is you should intern. You should follow somebody. You should be on a team, and you should follow and see what they really do, and see if you really want to do that work, because it's never what you think it is. Like you can't watch Suits and be like, you know what, I'm going to go be a lawyer. You want to know what it's really like to be a lawyer? You're going to sit and you're going to read and you're going to type for 18 hours a day with a bottle of Advil, right? That's what it really means to be a lawyer. And that's not what they show on TV. No. So go follow someone and make sure you understand the first 3 years in the business, you're not going to make any money. If you're okay with that, if you're okay with working holidays, working birthdays, working 7 days a week, working in rain, snow, sleet, the middle of the heat, to build something massive for you that no one will ever be able to take away from you, where there literally is no ceiling, because no one's ever going to tell you, hey, you sold too much, right? But they're also not going to pat you on the back when you sold nothing and you got to go get another job. If you're okay with that, give yourself those 3 years, and you can be incredibly successful in this business. This business rewards hard work.
All right. Well, Owning Manhattan, check it out right now on Netflix, and I appreciate you guys for
Envy,
joining
thank
us.
you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thanks for having
Ryan
us.
Serhant, Tricia Lee, Jeffrey St. Armand, we appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.